Well, you know, Diddy's alleged drug mule came to court today. Well, he came to court on Friday, and I want to tell you all about it. According to my Essence magazine daily coverage of the Diddy, Sean Combs, aka Diddy, Puff Daddy, Love, Father Love, ex trafficking court case. And here it goes. I'm going to read to you what I wrote, and I may throw a few extras in there for you, just for illustration and color. Are you listening? Here it is. All right. Brendan Paul came to court today in a gray suit. His sartorial choice perhaps spoke to his relationship with Sean Combs. The ex-assistant touted the word loyalty to the jury and gallery, making sure that they knew that that word was a part of the culture that the mogul instilled in his companies that captivated the 90s and the 2000s, even to the day. Like gray, neither black nor white. It's complicated, Paul said, of how he feels about his relationship with P. Diddy, Father Love, Combs, Sean, whatever you want to call him. Now, when the mogul was arrested in 2024, Paul was branded in the media as Combs's alleged drug mule. On cross-examination by YSL famous child Brian Steele, the attorney that represented Young Thug, he asked immediately, "You're not some drug mule, are you?" Brendan Paul said, "Absolutely not." And he said that quick, child. The ex-assistant's involvement with drugs, either on behalf of Sean Combs or as a staying awake agent, was spoken about in detail while he was on the stand. Paul testified to seeing Sean Combs use drugs multiple times. Okay? Now that included coke, ketamine, ecstasy, marijuana, everything, child. Now, further, the ex-assistant would purchase drugs for Sean Combs and had contacts he would either lie to about whom the drugs were for or sometimes pay for the drugs using his own coin. Through text, the court was shown a dealer even asked one time, "Is it for you or is it for Sean?" Or Puff, rather. And he would actually say, "It's for Puff, but don't tell, if anybody asks, don't tell them that it's for him. Say that it's for me." And that speaks obviously to the loyalty part. After several weeks of testimony, largely from ex-assistants, as we know, those bags that were referenced a lot, those pouches, those designer pouches containing drugs were used for freak offs, king nights, or even hotel nights, which the prosecution has used interchangeably to mean the same thing, basically. And why they were calling them three different things, I don't know. Paul recalls a time when he misplaced a Lululemon fanny pack. Okay? And he testified yesterday that his boss, Sean Combs, was hot about it. Okay? He was mad, pissed off. Now, according to Brendan Paul, he said he wanted to go for a walk. He wanted to take a long walk around the park after dark. And Sean Combs didn't care. What ended up happening was when he told Combs that he lost the pouch, which had the crack in it, Sean Combs said, "I don't want to see your face. Call KK and tell her you're fired." In fact, no, let me see if I can get the voice right, child. He said, "Hey, yo, I don't want to see your face. Call KK and tell her you're fired." But now, Christina Coram, which they call KK, she told him to lay low. Now, y'all remember when Whitney Houston was getting that award at the BET Awards, child? She said, "You better lay low." So I don't know if that's what she meant, but that's what she said. Now, Christina Coram, according to Brendan Paul, used to keep him away from the Kingdom Nights, which are the freak offs. According to Brendan Paul, Christina Coram did not want him working the Kingdom Nights, which just basically meant like setting up the rooms or whatever. She used to, I guess, protect him. Now, I have my own theories as to why she would protect him, but maybe I'll go live about that. But now, like most assistants, he worked 80 to 100 hours per week from 2022 to 2024. His starting salary was $75,000. So we have yet another assistant who was making more than Capricorn Clark, a black woman who Combs hired, who started out making $65,000, which again is ironic to me because Capricorn Clark was friends with Combs for a whole 2 to 3 years before working with him. And she was your only black female assistant, and she was making $65,000. I just don't understand that. But let me get back to what I wrote, y'all. So another assistant once told Paul when he was contemplating applying for the assistant position to, quote, get in, get out. If you have a girlfriend, break up with her. You're never going to see your family, unquote. Paul said his use of Adderall, which he admits to using, was prescripted, though the prosecution did not investigate that claim. And he did say that he would use cocaine, that cocaine, on, according to him, rare uses. Now, whether or not I believe that, y'all didn't ask me that. Marijuana, he said he would also regularly use. And then he said sometimes he'd stay awake for 3 days. Now, that was the amount of time that some of these girlfriends of his would stay awake during these freak-off sessions. And he said, well, I was young. I could handle it. So, I don't... Now, get into this. Juneteenth and a sick juror prolonged Brendan Paul's testimony because he was supposed to testify a couple of days ago, but one of the jurors started allegedly having signs of vertigo, and he had to turn back around, or she had to turn back around and go home, child. And because that juror was sick, the whole court case shut down for the day, and so we all had to go home. Prior to him taking a stand on Friday, Judge Aaron Subramanian granted Paul immunity because he exercised his Fifth Amendment right and said, I ain't testifying. Now, once you get that immunity, you're then compelled to testify. So that's what happened with that. Now, he's one of Combs's several assistants who didn't want to testify and who exercised their Fifth Amendment right to, not say a word, child. Now, on March the 25th, 2024, him, Christina Coram, and Combs all took a selfie in front of Combs's private jet as they were on their way to some kind of a vacation. According to Brendan Paul, that was the last time that he spoke to Combs. Now, he was arrested, Brendan Paul that is, at the Opa-locka airport in Florida the same day Combs's homes were raided, and it was for drug charges. Now, on the stand yesterday, Brendan Paul said he had a really good lawyer, and that's how the charges were dropped. Now, this has nothing to do with my article, but if you ask me, I think the charges were dropped because he had really good white privilege. But whatever. Now, after Brendan Paul left the stand, they showed everybody text messages. And one text message in particular that stood out to me was dated March the 18th, 2017, in which Cassie texted Combs saying, you're at a point in your life where you want to party and have a good time. She also said, I have to focus or I'll never become anything. And I guess this, Cassie was, like her sense of responsibility was beginning to, weigh over her head, which is great, because definitely. Then she said, please don't play victim. If you can go to our last messages, that's all you wanted, and that's why I was upset, she wrote. I love our freak offs, which I thought was interesting. Then she said, when we both wanted. So the fact that she said I love our freak offs was strange to me, and said when we both want them. Now Joseph Saricilo in the Homeland Security Investigations Office took the stand after a short break, and he was asked to confirm the information in the charts that the prosecution compiled, which included more text. The text seemed to be everlasting and never ending, which included correspondence between Combs and Jane, who was victim number maybe 4, and is a pseudonym for one of Combs's ex-girlfriends. The chart included 44 entries dating back between May of 2021 and August of 2024. So that's all I have for you today. Obviously, people are asking a lot of questions. Most notably, they want to know if I think Combs is going to prison. I think that what I've been doing at Essence Magazine is just really reporting the news. And so I can't say, I did, even though I do have opinions, and I definitely think one way more so than the other way. But I would just say, like, subscribe if you're here. And outside of Essence, I can definitely share my thoughts and views on what I think about this trial. It's definitely more complex than, just what either side is trying to say or do. But I do think that this is probably the biggest trial in hip hop, for sure, in hip hop history. And as always, I'm grateful to you all, Team Classics. We don't chase trends, we create them, and we let them invest in us rather than us invest in them, and that's on period. As always, please continue to follow my daily coverage of the Sean Combs trial in Essence Magazine. Follow me on all social media platforms at James R. Sanders. And thank you all for the support.